Hello folks and welcome back. In this video presentation we'll be going over Dr. Quiet and all the components that constitute his practice. But before getting into that, I just want to recap, because obviously we've gone through the introduction, and so by now you should have filled out your diet and lifestyle questionnaires so you can identify where the problems are in your life that needs to be addressed in order to get you up to baseline health. We've gone through Dr. Happiness in terms of defining your dream, so if you haven't done those, please go back and fill them out. And obviously Dr. Happiness, defining your goals in dreams is so very important in order to conjure that motivation and energy required in order to make these changes. Because remember the law of facilitation, it takes energy in order to break those old pathways and habits that obviously leading you or have brought you to the problems that you already have today. So it's very important you fill these out, take action and apply this knowledge that you've been learning. And obviously under Dr. Diet, there was a lot to unpack under Dr. Diet, so again I recommend going through that, but you should have filled out your primal pattern diet type so you can start building your foundation as to recognizing and learning the kind of foods you need to implement in your diet. Granted, everything should be organic, nice and clean and fresh, and obviously knowing how to stay hydrated and navigate this minefield that is the diet world and nutrition world. So we've debunked and demystified a lot of the kind of commercially spun advertising campaigns and narratives and subconscious scripts they've put into us, so you can then now go away and start applying all this so you can start building a better relationship with your body, the food you eat and the planet we live on. Okay, so really cannot emphasize that enough, guys. If you haven't done all these questionnaires and filled out your kind of dream and recognized what is giving you purpose in this life and the motivation in order to make these changes, and please go back through them before we move forwards. But that being said, I want to dive into Dr. Quiet. This is another really key doctor, and there's going to be some interesting information, so yeah, please pay attention, take notes, as often a lot of what is taught in this course, especially under Dr. Quiet, is neglected and can be a huge fix for a lot of people, where once they get Dr. Quiet right, everything else seems to fall into place like magic. Okay, with that being said, we'll go straight into this. So I like to think of Dr. Quiet as the chief doctor out of all four of the doctors. Its importance is most often overlooked in modern day society, as most of us are constantly being pulled this way and that way, leading a life that is always outside ourselves, overly yang. Dr. Diet covers sleep, self-time, introspection, spiritual development, and all the processes that run silently in the background as you go about life. That's that yin aspect again. I think this should be a great place to first introduce what stress is and what effects this has on our bodies before we can truly appreciate the importance of Dr. Quiet and the components that form his practice. So what is stress? We often think of stress as being a bad thing. However, we often need a little stress to maintain good health. Take, for instance, exercising. This creates stress that is beneficial in order for our muscles, bones, hearts, and lungs to grow stronger. Likewise, when it comes to learning something new, this stress helps us form new neural connections without which we wouldn't be able to learn. So, in this respect, I always love seeing healthy levels of stress as confirmation you are growing. On the flip side, too much stress can be very detrimental to your health. And it says, man, woman is both the marble and the sculptor. Okay, so in order to create change, it can be quite painful, but inevitably the end result will be, beautiful sculpture, the beautiful body, or the beautiful life you want to live. So there are 6 major types of stress that we will go through, with each having a positive and negative aspect. So we'll be going through 1, physical stress, 2, chemical stress, 3, electromagnetic stress, 4, psychic or mental stress, 5, nutritional stress, and 6, thermal stress. And as you can see here with the little diagram, you've got performance, less stress on the x-axis, on the left hand side, on the right hand side more stress, and you can see it's all about keeping right in the middle, keeping everything nice and balanced, which is what this whole kind of guides and program is all about, achieving homeostasis. So physical stress. The goods aspect of physical stress, as mentioned before, physical stress is very beneficial if you're wanting to grow faster, stronger, fitter, etc. through exercise, sports, or any hobby you may pursue involving movement. Without adequate amounts of stress on our bones, muscles, and joints, we will inevitably become soft, limp, and more prone to injury and accidents going about our daily lives. Gravity also plays an important role as healthy stress on the body. evidence with astronauts out in space having to counteract a lack of this stress through exercise to avoid major atrophy of muscles and bones during their time in space. It is estimated that only 8% of men and 3% of women exercise regularly. It is no surprise then that 63% of people in the UK are overweight or obese. And I know these statistics are pretty similar no matter where you are in the Western world, like America and Australia. It goes without saying they could do with a little bit more physical stress in their lives. The bad aspect to this stress, physical stress, is over-exercising and overworking. The body can lead to a myriad of problems, including chronic fatigue, illness, injury, and in severe cases, death. Doing too much with little rest puts a lot of stress in the body that inevitably always causes problems long term. Poor posture is also a bad stress in the body that can affect breathing, joint health, circulation, muscle function, and internal organ support. And you've got a few images here obviously depicting this. Overtraining, poor posture, obviously working at the desk, and obviously someone at the top there keeping everything nice and balanced, good posture, and exercising right and well, and not too much. So stress number 2, chemical stress. The good aspect of this, our bodies are made up of all kinds of chemicals that serve particular functions throughout the body. For instance, exercising helps release cortisol, which breaks down the energy stored in the muscles to allow us to move. Likewise, when we finish our workout, we are rewarded with the pleasant release of serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins, which are the feel-good hormones, which are all just chemicals released within the body. We also introduce our bodies to chemicals like enzymes, vitamins, proteins, and fats stored in the foods we eat. This all helps to shift our chemical balance from a catabolic, which is a muscle tissue breaking state, to an anabolic, which is a muscle building state. And the bad aspect of chemical stress is, you should be well versed by now that we're absolutely bombarded with all kinds of chemical stress through the likes of non-organic industrial body products, foods, emissions, paints, plastics, water treatment, drugs, fertilizers, etc. Exposure to all these chemicals puts a lot of stress on our bodies through having to work extra hard to detoxify these substances from our system. We have number 3, electromagnetic stress. The good aspects of this is obviously sunlight, cosmic radiation, and the Schumann resonance, which is Earth's natural pulse, all have an influence on our body's natural biorhythms. The sun activates the release of cortisol, which is our get up and go hormone, a stress which is needed to kickstart the day. Likewise, walks out in nature helps expose us to Mother Earth's natural frequency, which is very soothing and directly related to our alpha brainwave state of 7.83 Hertz, responsible for reducing anxiety and depression and keeping us in that kind of flow state of good concentration and productivity. The bad aspect of electromagnetic stress is too much sunlight. It's obviously very bad for you and can lead to serious skin conditions and undue stress on the body. Exposure to man-made electromagnetic frequencies, EMF for short, can also be very disharmonious to our bodies. This includes wireless routers, cell phone towers, your cell phones, microwave ovens, x-rays, electric wiring, computer screens, etc. Wherever there's electricity, basically. Research has found a strong correlation with exposure to cell phone tower radiation in high cases of cancer development. Man-made EMF also acts to disrupt the function of our pineal gland, which is responsible for regulating our sleep-wake cycles through the release of melatonin, a hormone that is 10 times more powerful than vitamin C and is responsible for aiding in the recovery of our bodies during sleep. That's otherwise the third eye that they kind of relate to or say in the ancient cultures, which is why they put in Indian and Hinduism, they put a bindi right in the eye, and obviously in Egypt you've got the eye of Horus. It's all the kind of intersection of the brain. That's where you've got your pituitary gland and your pineal gland, which is so very important to govern a lot of hormonal aspects, especially to do with circadian rhythms. So yeah, keep this in mind obviously. And we'll touch on this a bit later on in the program, things that you can do to counteract this EMF exposure that I've done firsthand, which does work, and it's incredibly beneficial. So we have, we've gone from 1 watt of wireless energy exposure to 200 watts since the advent of 5G. That's a whopping 200 times increase in EMF stress on our bodies. So you can see here some of the pictures depicting this. Even though we can't see it, doesn't mean it's not affecting us. There's a reason why we call our cells and cell towers and cell phones, because they all emit, send and receive all of these electromagnetic signals. So our body's like the perfect antenna, unfortunately. So it is important that we take measures to protect ourselves against this. which will obviously, like I said before, highlight this later on in the program. So number 4, psychic or mental stress. The good aspect of this, thinking and using our minds in a way which promotes positive feelings and outcomes in life. Setting goals and working toward them creates healthy stress to achieve those goals. That gives you happiness and a sense of fulfillment in life. Also, overcoming adversity helps us grow stronger mentally and offers us great wisdom and life experience. The bad aspect of psychic and mental stress, focusing on negative things like what you don't want in life, which is the concept of stinking thinking, getting abused verbally, studying too much, taking on too much work or projects, challenging belief systems, self-judgment, low self-esteem, etc. All create unwanted mental stress. There's obviously a few pictures here depicting this. So we have 5, nutritional stress. So the good aspect of this is eating right for your primal pattern type and eating fresh, organic, whole foods. Stress in this instance is associated with digestion, assimilation, metabolization, and elimination. Your body has to work to run all these processes to get what it needs to function properly. So the bad aspect of nutritional stress is eating too much or too little, not eating right for your primal pattern type, consuming non-organic foods high in industrial chemicals and lacking important nutrients, consuming non-foods, commonly known as displacing foods, i.e. junk foods that cost more to run from mouth to anus than it offers, running up a deficit in your body, most of which are responsible for the majority of diseases experienced today. As we all well know by now, 90% is due to diet and lifestyle choices. So we have 6, thermal stress. So the good aspect of this is maintaining obviously your body temperature at 37 degrees Celsius. When it's too hot or too cold outside, your thermoregulatory system is stressed to maintain constant body temperature favourable for cell function. Stressing this system now and again is good to keep it dynamic and efficient. Exercise is one good way, acclimatising to extreme temperatures another. Ice and cold bath shower treatments also are beneficial stress, likewise with saunas and steams. Thermoregulatory stress response in the cold is indicative to shivering and goosebumps. This raises the heart rate through muscle activation and helps trap hot air from the raised hairs as a result of the goosebumps. Thermoregulatory stress response to the heat triggers sweat, which cools the skin when it evaporates. The blood vessels under your skin get wider. This increases blood flow to your skin where it is cooler, away from your warm inner body. So the bad to thermostress is any extreme and prolonged exposure to hot or cold would be stressful to the body, which can have dire consequences such as hypothermia for too much cold and heat stroke and exhaustion for too much heat. And I'm sure every one of us has been in one of these 2 extremes. I certainly have. I've been very cold, shiver, goosebumps, and obviously way too hot, sunburnt, and have heat exhaustion. Both aren't very good for your health whatsoever, so it's important to consider those. As seen with the diagram, all stresses are funneled together into your body and processed by your nervous system. Green arrows represent good stresses, red arrows bad stresses. The amount of stress you're exposed to will dictate your tolerance and ability to take on more stresses in your life, i.e. exercise, learn a new skill, set up a new business, etc. It is therefore important that you identify any stresses in your life and work toward reducing them so you can get back to baseline health. So you can see here, all the stresses get poured into the body. It doesn't discriminate, and then obviously it tallies up based on how stressed you are as an individual, based on all these 6 main factors that accumulate and add up to your overall stress levels. And so you want to try and avoid obviously filling it up to the point where it's that red line, and bring everything back down to at least yellow, and work towards getting in that optimal zone, green. So if you are confronted with anything that is stressful in life, you have a lot of breathing room. Like I said before, mentioned this before in the doctor diet, that you want to make sure that you're eating well, sleeping well. So if you are confronted with any kind of stresses in life, it's not going to knock you flat, as it were. You'll be able to deal with it because you're already in a good state of well-being and health and got an energy surplus, and you're not in an energy crisis. So that concludes this video on what is stress. In the next video, as you caught a glimpse of, we'll be going deeper into the nervous system and breaking down the autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic and sympathetic responses, which is all very interesting and worth knowing in terms of helping to build a better relationship with our bodies and how they respond to certain situations and everything else, so we can help compile and build a holistic picture as we go through this program. So yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers, bye bye.